Hello, this is Brett Knowles. This quick video outlines what we're proposing for the engagement solution at CPAO Ontario. I'm pleased to say that we have found that most of the materials we're looking for already exist. And by consolidating these into a performance management solution, we can make the process significantly simpler, consume way less of leadership's time, and deliver a much higher quality employee engagement, retention rates, productivity, and ultimately execution of strategy. Now, the materials that you've done in your planning process are what we need, and we see this to take about 2 or 3 hours of you and your people's time. The overall process is straightforward. We're going to harvest your existing strategy, initiative, capacity planning documents, and we're going to put those into a template for you that you'll then be able to review and refine. And based on that, we'll be able to create draft employee performance plans, which they will then review and approve in a workshop. We'll provide you with some analysis reports about strategic coverage, and you can review those and finalize the solution. So for you, it looks like a couple of hours of time, 1 hour up front, 1 hour at the end, and for your employees, a couple of hours to review that work. As we outlined in the July executive team meeting, our goal is to build the employee's performance plan based on the format you've been using historically with some minor enhancements. We're going to take the strategic initiatives that people work with and break out what are their objectives, key results, and perhaps their priority and role. Let's look at how we can do this with what you already have. So ultimately, we're going to take a look at, for example, in the case of HR, we have an existing staff role. So we're going to put the staff people into this table. And then we're going to take a look at those strategic initiatives and goals. And we should be able to identify which ones, in this case, human resources, works against, and add those onto the sheet. Then we should be able to identify the priority. And if you remember, we discussed this as being optional. And the priority statuses that we suggested were critical, necessary, and unplanned. Now, obviously, these are all strategic goals, so they all fit the critical or number 1 category. Then for each of the individuals, we'll take a look at what is their role in association with these initiatives. And we agreed on 2 role types: owner, who's ultimately owning the process, and the job performer, who do the tasks. So in this case, we've determined that Cindy is the owner, and the job performers are Catherine and Ginny, and the other Catherine, Sherry, and Cheryl have no role in this particular process. We've also suggested there should always be 1 owner, so the spreadsheet will make sure that we've identified at least 1 owner. On the next objective, we actually have a job performer, but we don't have identified an owner yet. So the spreadsheet will say that we've got an underlap here and we need to work on that, and so forth. So again, we think that most of this exists in the work that you've been preparing for the executive team, and in particular the meeting that you have on August 17th. We should be able to take that information and put this in for you. The second part of this is taking a look at any unique goals you might have for your team. So again, in HR's case, they've already identified a whole bunch of initiatives they should work on, and they've prioritized them and allocated some people to be the owners. So again, we can just harvest this information. For HR, they have a series of internal initiatives they're working on, and they have various priorities which they've already set. And then finally, they can do the same thing of defining the roles of who's involved with these things. So in this way, we cover both the strategic initiatives and the operational objectives from that team. Now, the other activity that teams do are the processes that they work in. And again, in HR, they've identified what their processes are and who the owners are. So again, we can just capture that information for you in advance of the meeting. So in this case, within talent management, there's a bunch of processes like recruitment, on and offboarding, and so forth. We don't think you necessarily want to prioritize processes, so we'll leave that blank. But again, we're going to go through the same process of understanding owners and job performers and begin to allocate those out where we have them defined. So we should be able to do this for you. These documents should exist. If they don't, it's probably going to take, we estimate, no more than an hour for you to go through these activities. And what we'll end up with in the big picture is obviously listing what your staff is, what your initiatives are, what your processes are. And in fact, this is sort of a snapshot of your department that you should be able to put together in just an hour. What we can do for you is in fact add up across each staff member and give you a workload balance. Let's take a look at that. What we can see here is based on the roles and the activities, we can basically see that in this case, Catherine has a whole bunch of work assigned to her where Cheryl doesn't. So right now the workload is not balanced. Now, depending on the information you want to put in, we can take a look at this by quarter, and maybe in fact Catherine's nicely balanced across the year, whereas all of Cheryl's is in Q1, and Cheryl's the one with the issue. So we can help you do some load balancing, and some of the feedback we've got from the survey is right now you can't do that, so it begins to be a bit tough to prioritize activities and choose what things to work on, and so forth. So this should provide you with a bit of guidance in that area. Now, what we can also do next to each of these activities, whether it's a strategic goal, operational goal, or a process, is you can begin to identify what are the key results. And again, in the work that we've seen from HR, you've already defined these, and it looks like you have again for the August 17th meeting. And it's possible you've even broken these out by quarter. And I know that's some of the work, again, that you're currently working on. So again, we can fill in all of this for you in advance of any of the meetings. So now if we have this master spreadsheet with this information on it, we can then do sort of a sort on it to give you that personnel form that we've been talking about. Now, we think this is going to be close but not accurate. We believe that you, based on this draft, you might want to tweak it, but more importantly, we should have a short workshop with your team and have them review this proposed plan and allow them to fine-tune their specific key results, maybe add in their training and development and so forth. And so in this way, with an hour of your time and a couple of hours of their time, we've now built this more robust performance plan that's now linked to your existing plans that you've put together for that August 17th meeting and consistent with the strategic goals. I hope this was useful to you. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask either Cindy or myself. Thank you.